Good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Raw. It is January 2nd and 2020. 2020. It is the year of clarity and vision. And I'm so excited this evening to have in the studio with me a panel of men that have each, in their own way, touched my life in the past 12 months. I'd like to introduce and welcome to the studio Mr. Josh Ritcher, a friend of mine coming in from Southern California. Josh Ritcher is he is the art director, producer of Shark Tank. He is also a coach. He has a book published, Shit for Brains, and a friend of mine, Josh Ritcher. Welcome to the studio, Josh.
Thank you, Jay. So honored to be here. So excited.
This is your third time joining me in the studio, and
yes.
Each time has brought another level of surprises
and vulnerability. And yeah, we're not scared to go there. So I'm excited, man. Let's do it.
All right. We also have Mr. Jeff Fasano. So we got the three J's. We got Jay, Jeff, and Josh. Jeff Fasano resides in Nashville, Tennessee, originally from Staten Island, New York.
Jeff, say that, Jay.
I know. I just
love that.
Not everybody could remember that, but I grew up in New York, so Staten Island held a special place in my own heart. But Jeff Fasano is a world acclaimed artist, photographer, and is a very spiritual man that leads many lives in this lifetime and has led many lives in this time. In his lifetime, I believe this is your third time in Real Men, Real Talk with me as well. Welcome back, Jeff Fasano.
Oh, thanks, my friend. Here we are, bearing our souls and our wounds and our experiences and doing what real men do.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. I
think that should be the message for 2020. Open your heart, speak your truth, move into your vulnerability. That's what real men do.
I like it.
Love it. Love it.
And I'd also like to welcome to the studio Evis Heath, coming in from New South Wales, Australia. This is, in fact, the third time that he and I are in a studio in less than 2 weeks. Evis was someone that touched me late in the year, no less. Has touched me in my own heart space, and I am so thrilled to have you in the studio one more time, this time as part of this panel. And so the reason that I asked the three of you to join me, and I'm so appreciative that all three of you said, yes, I'm in, was because we are just transitioned over from one decade ending in 19 to the new decade, a fresh start, 2020. And I thought it would be a beautiful opportunity for each one of you to kind of share your takeaways from your own experience in 19, from the perspective of perhaps career, perspective of where you are at in relationship to any irritability, discomfort, unknowing about the newness of transitions that you may be in the middle of, as well as relationships. How did 19 end for you? Each one of you have been touched by relationships with women, and the good, bad, and the ugly. And so it's an opportunity to kind of reflect on what that has taught you about yourself. And as you now shift into the 2020, the year of clarity and vision, what your intentions are for this new year and what it is that you hope to learn about yourself and push forward in. So without further ado, I'm going to open it up to, we could start, well, it doesn't really matter where we start because we're just going to go into the flow. But Josh, I think it's been a while since you and I have had a conversation other than through texting and Messenger. And so I'd like to invite you to maybe open it up and share with us how 19 ended for you, And what were your takeaways for your own growth and your own lessons from 19, and how that's going to translate into this new decade?
Yeah, it was a very special close for me, Jay. And when we get into relationships, I'll talk about that later. But for me, wow, I've been on a quest and on a deep dive into the brain and neuroscience and the human condition for the last 4 years, and I really felt like at the end of this year, I don't want to say I stopped seeking. I'm always going to be a seeker, but I turned my focus into finding joy and finding my joy and what makes me happy, and sort of forgetting, of course, when I read new nuggets from other people and I try things on, I feel like it's like a jacket, and I'll wear it for a second and go, wow, okay, does this fit? Does this support my highest good? Does this feel authentic to me? And if it doesn't, just set it down and move on. And so I feel like I've just been in this beautiful place the last few months where I'm just leaning so deeply into that trust within and just listening to myself even deeper, and sort of just turning down the volume on the whole noise of the world and just saying, okay, does this feel right to me? If not, I'll put it down. Or if yes, then this is what I'm going to do. And just sort of following that joy. And I'm still trying to describe it, even to myself, because I feel like this is going to be a big topic maybe in my second book. So of course, when we're in it, it's always hardest to sort of, verbalize it. But I think finding the joy was an amazing piece. And I'm sort of just like, that's kind of my number one focus right now. I stopped and saw the last 4 or 5 sunsets. And I think that's more than I've ever stopped and noticed this entire year combined. And it just because it felt good. And so I feel like I'm not doing things anymore to get results. I felt like the last 10 years I've been on this quest to better myself, and everything was about achieving something. And lately, the last 3 months, it's just been about feeling good for the sake of feeling good. And I think that sums it up. It's been a lot of fun.
How does a modern man in American society slow down enough? What does that look like for you? How did you get from there to here? What is some of the let's say the liquid gold you could share with us right now? Because there's a lot of guys that are in that space, and they don't know how to navigate to where you have. What does that look like for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all been taught to go, go, go. I mean, I had a startup outside of TV, and like I was sleeping 3 to 5 hours a night, and that was acceptable. And so now, I mean, the brain, we're so much stronger. The brain is so much stronger with good sleep hygiene and rest. And so sleep is not an acceptable casualty anymore for me. And I put that first and foremost. Second is meditating every morning, which gives me the peace and stillness to choose my thoughts consciously, which allows me to then respond to the world instead of react. And I choose happiness, and I choose kindness, and I choose love over anger, frustration, and that's including my own self-talk as well. So I police my dialogue, inner and outer, very, very carefully, and choose everything that supports me and supports others. And so, yeah, that's been the journey, is from this, asleep at the wheel, reacting to the world, to now responding to the world and choosing joy and choosing love. And that's been the last 6 years. But the last 3 months have been really, really fun. Finding the joy. I don't know what it is. It's really, really changed things for me. And I'm just like, the other day I was driving home after watching a sunset, and I was in tears. I was so grateful for what I had just seen. And it's like, those are the awesome moments in life when you're awake and you're just feeling everything. And it's so good. It's so meaty.
Josh, I caught a post on your stream. You shared about that sunset. What was more important was not that you saw the sunset, but that you
Almost
chose
didn't go.
almost chose not to see it.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us what that part of the experience was like and what you took away from that.
Yeah, I was driving home from a workout. I've been working out every day too, which, Jay, if you knew me, the old me, this would be the weirdest conversation. You'd be like, what? But I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I feel good and it fuels me. So I was driving home from the workout, and I had a lot to do that night. And I was thinking about all the stuff, and I looked up in the sky and I saw the sunset that was about to happen. And I thought, wow, I can make it to the ocean before it goes down and I could see it. And I was like, well, but I got to do all this stuff. And I said, no, this is important. And that's just what it felt to me, was that to stop. This is important. Small moments are important. So I did. I drove to the coast and I walked out to the ocean, and actually it was gray and cloudy, and I wasn't going to be a good sunset. It didn't look like it. In fact, I even turned around and walked away, but I had the feeling to stay. And so I stayed. And literally for 3 minutes only, right as the sun was setting, everything turned amazingly pink. I wish I could share a picture with you guys, but it's the most brilliant sunset I've ever seen in my life. And it only lasted for a few minutes, and then it was gone because of the way the clouds were on the horizon. And so, but yeah, I almost didn't go. And then even getting to the beach, I was like, wow, it looks like it's not going to be that great. And it ended up being one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And so, yeah, saying yes to the small things and putting importance on those, and the list of to-dos will be there. It's not going anywhere. So why not enjoy the small things, stop and smell the roses and those little moments.
What was behind the tears on the back end of that experience? What was really the root of those emotions? What were you feeling?
I was feeling grateful that I could be in this place to enjoy that I could recognize that moment and stop, and that those things are important to me now, and that I have changed and I have grown, and I was stuck in the grind and probably went years without seeing a sunset or noticing it. And now I catch those moments. I think that's what I was most grateful for, was my change, my growth, and just knowing now that these moments are the big moments in life.
The last time you were in a studio, it was a powerful moment because you were on the back end of a major breakup with a relationship that spanned over 2 years. And you came in and we spent a lot of time just talking about the grieving process of a loss of a relationship. And I'd like to invite you to take just a few moments here, perhaps to share now on the back end. Now we are even further out from that experience. What did that breakup teach you about yourself? And how will it provide you the opportunity to show up perhaps in a future relationship differently than this last one? What have you learned about yourself? Now, this is the question. I'm going real. And I'm inviting you to go raw here. We're talking man to man.
Yeah, Jay. I will. I learned again to trust myself deeper, and that I still had some clearing out to do, actually, right around Christmas with that relationship, and I was still holding on to anger. I was angry why she could let this go, and which was so great. I thought this was going to be the forever. And so I was angry that she could let her fear and a few of her things come between us and cause that breakup. And so I had to forgive. And the only way to show true love for someone else is to forgive, obviously, and to wish them the best, the absolute best. So And what I learned about myself, gosh, that breakup pointed me in the direction of trauma and of shame. And I did both of those this summer, massive trauma and shame work, which was driving my addictive behavior in years prior. And so going to those dark places wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. And it has offered so much freedom and this space for joy now to be in my life in the later part of this year. So yeah, that paved the entire way. So the breakup was amazing in a sense that I got me out of it. I lost the woman, and hey, I guess these things happen, and but to gain oneself fully, without the shame, without the trauma, without those underlying things that are driving behavior in unsupportive ways, it's allowed space for joy, which has been brilliant.
Beautiful. Josh, I want to thank you for showing up in this moment and sharing your truth, because if you're in a community and you're watching us on live or on replay, I want to take a moment just to thank you and acknowledge you in the community, the viewers, for showing up and supporting the four of us in this moment. And I did not prep. I don't write questions down. I don't come in with a pad. My pad, this is my pad, and there's nothing on this pad. So I come in, and in the moment when something pops, I put it out. And so this was Josh showing up real and raw and sharing his truth. And I just want to take this moment to honor you and thank you for doing what we're learning as men how to do, which is show up. Even when we're presented with difficult questions, difficult, introspective, to look in within ourselves and not go the old traditional route of how we have handled conflict and discomfort in the past. Evis, you too, my friend, have dealt with some challenges in relationships. Perhaps it was 19, not that long ago, that you've gone through some changes as well. This was a big year for you in change. And hearing what Josh just shared, did you have anything that kind of felt familiar with what Josh shared? Any experiences that were similar?
100%, Jay. And just first of all, thanks for sharing that, Josh. Beautiful, my brother. And as always, Jay, my Roth, the man, thanks for having me on your show, my brother.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. Look, just listening to Josh and Jeff's story at the moment, we can all share some sort of similarities across the platform. It's quite surreal when we think about it, or is it? Has this stuff been going on all of our lives, but we just weren't awake to it? And part of my awakening, particularly like you mentioned, Jay, this year, was the separation. Now, when I look back on it, and mind you, I'm always trying to live here now, right in the present as we speak, but that year 2019, it's just crazy we're saying 2019, was that time of reflection. So there's still a little bit of residue that just lingers in the back of our mind to reflect and be able to become more conscious, to be able to peel or become more aware of something that may have been holding us from our truth, holding us from speaking our voice, holding us from being us, from being you. And one of those things when the tower came down, so to speak, that I really woke up to, Jay, was through my separation, I found me again. And what I mean by that is that I feel in some relationships, many men in particular, I'm helping a lot of men through their health, fitness, and wellness journeys, they lose themselves. And I hear this common denominator. I'm always looking after someone else. I'm always looking after them. And then my first question always is, but what about you? What are you doing for you? And then I'll put it back onto them. Okay, how are you turning up into the relationship? Because as my good friend Stefanos says, you're the common denominator for that relationship. Now, in past relationships, Jay, Jeff, and Josh, man, I can just say that about 10 times. I may have possibly not turned up into that relationship and taken ownership, taken responsibility for me. You know, how was I turning up? How was I communicating? How was I listening? How was I paying attention? And was I filling my own cup, creating my own space so I could come into that relationship and connect, like my good man Jay, the Rothman, says. And that's what I've really started to become aware of and conscious of. Just one of those things this year, it's that connection. You know, we have all of these ships, as I say, down here on this beautiful planet we call Gaia or Mother Earth. It's a water planet. We have those relationships. We have these citizenships. But it is you, the ship, the vessel that is floating around in these waters that you have to take care of first for you to be able to fill up anyone else's cup. So for me, Jay, I really took away lessons about myself from past relationships that may have been repeating and patterns that may have been recycling over relationships and lifetimes, like Jeff mentioned. And then funny enough, I actually became aware that I was playing out a relationship that I saw from my mum and dad. So once we start to become conscious and more aware that some of these programs that we've had the ability to, if we've become aware of, to start shedding. We're starting to shed and let go of some of these patterns, some of these signature energies, vibrations or frequencies that may not have been ours. And for me, 2020, the ship that you see right here, I've come back home, Jay. I came back home. And to me, my friend, I call that self-discovery.
Beautiful.
The greatest holiday we can all have.
Wow.
You know, what's interesting, Evis, is you refer to the word ship quite in this segment here. And Josh just penned a book called Ship for Brains.
Yeah.
I love it.
Josh, will you share with Evis what the premise, what's behind that title?
So yeah, it came from a pretty unlikely place, actually. I was watching a television show on cruise ships, and they're such large objects in the ocean that they're very susceptible to outside wind and waves pushing the ship around. Now, the captain, who's up in the bridge with all the control buttons and knobs, he has to slightly course correct more often to counteract the wind and waves to get the ship where he wants to go. Well, the problem is that most of us live our entire lives on the deck of our ship, not actually up in the control room in the brain where we have control, yelling at the wind and yelling at the waves on the deck of the ship, not actually in control or getting the boat where you want it to go. So I'm taking people on a journey up into their brains where we can learn what some of the buttons and knobs do and then get your ship actually to where you want it to go.
I love it, Josh. Can I piggyback on that for a second, my brother? I just had
Do
this
it.
great lightning bolt that just went boom.
Do it.
You're talking about being the captain in that ship. What I saw for you, my friend, what I saw for Jeff, what I saw from Jay, and no word of lie, Jay, my middle name's John, so I can be an EJ. But what I see, my friends, we can be outside of that ship now. We don't even have to be in the ship, the vessel, because we can be that lighthouse. Because in those dark times, we can be that beacon of light that guides those ships in.
Yeah. We can be our own lighthouse. We don't
100%.
through finding ourselves, we don't need anybody else to count on for that. We can do that.
Hey,
for
Josh,
ourselves.
you just got book number 2 right there.
What?
That's book number 2 is The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
You know, I want to share with you guys real quickly, as I have been doing some significant coaching work with men most recently, and including today as I hike the second highest peak in the Phoenix, Arizona area with another guest coming in from Airbnb. I really have come to this conclusion, and I've shared this with another client of mine, that my experience has been for us as men to truly be able to show up in relationships with a partner, with a girlfriend. We have to first heal the most important relationship in our life, which is ourself. But there's a second relationship that blocks millions of us from being able to show up and be present outside of ourselves. And that relationship, I believe, is with our mom. At least that's how it was for me. I needed to do some serious inner work on myself and healing the wounds and pivotal moments from my childhood that I took into my adulthood with my number one teacher that I had as a female. And that was my mom growing up. And we don't place enough emphasis on how much that mommy-son relationship may have impacted all of our adult relationships. And I found that for me personally, for me to have a healthy relationship outside of myself with women, I needed to first heal that relationship that touched me out of the gate, out of birthing process was my mom. And through that process, it freed me to be able to be at peace with how I show up today with females, with women in particular, and men as well, but primarily that's been my experience. And I don't know if any of you agree with that statement or not, but I'd like to, at this moment, invite Mr. Jeff Fasano, coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Jeff Fasano has quite the story. Each one of you men have unbelievable backstories. Each one of you have hit some very, very high peak success in business in your careers. You all went about it differently, but you all had some drive or something that brought you to peak performance. Josh in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Jeff Fasano walked away from his career on Wall Street, I believe, and followed his dream, although it was not the dream that other people in his life had for him. And he went after his art passion and became an acclaimed world international photographer. He's worked with some of the most leading people in the music industry and in the entertainment industry, in the acting. And then we have the fitness model here, Evis, who has achieved some significant success in his own career as a fitness model. And each one of you men have really, you're powerhouses in your own right, yet we still show up with life's challenges in relationships and in the self-talk that we have heard for decades. So Jeff Fasano, I'd like to take this moment to invite you to kind of open up and share a few of your takeaways from 19 for yourself and what it is that you're looking into for 2020.
The first thing I said is that we should take this on the road, but and bring this all over the country. But anyhow, what I'm hearing from Josh and Evis, and what Evis just said just really touched me. I feel like I'm going to get emotional here, but I finally, after all of these years, I finally feel that I have come home to me. I'm going to get emotional here because it really
Let
is.
it out. Let it go.
There we go,
It
brother.
is.
Hold space. Hold space.
It is just when you said that, it summed up everything for me. That and I've been doing this inner work since 1999, and the last 2 months of 2019, we were talking earlier. So many triggers that had triggered so much old lifetime, old archetypes of stuff. It was so ancient, and it was dark, and it was hectic and painful, and it took so much of everything that I could muster of my tools and connecting with people to move through it. And it brought, at the end of the year, it just felt that I released lifetimes of shame, judgment, and Jay, perfectly, my relationship with my mother, in relationship to the feminine energy, taking back my power of who I am, and then finding a person that I never even knew. And it was like coming home to this place of ownership that I've never had before. And making this deeper connection to the healthy masculine energy in me that I need of an ownership. It's not I'm a guy, I'm aggressive. That's old, that's unhealthy. But this healthy realization of the masculine inside of me, the assertive masculine inside of me, that is healthy. But what I released was what I realized, and all the way up until last Friday night, I was out and I saw this woman, and immediately the shame and judgment of myself came up that I didn't even know where it was coming from. And I woke up the next morning, feeling this rawness inside of me, and then going to a place of beating myself up. And I just went, stop.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and which is the wonder of the feminine energy. That is, and I think, Jay, you put it perfectly. It's like where I've been triggered the last 2 months is mainly from the feminine energy. Women have triggered stuff deep inside of me that I need to let go of to move to this place. But what I realized that I never even it was like a crescendo. It was so loud on Saturday morning in the quietness of my house of judgment, louder, judgment, shame, judgment. And I was like, then it hit me. What am I judging and shaming? Where is that coming from? And then what I got was, Jay, you just hit it again. Like, it's amazing how this collective that we have here, and I've gotten so much from Josh and Evis, and then Jay comes in and says, healing the energy with my mother, and that just popped into my head. And I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And that was the judgment, the shame, the you're not good enough, the this, you're not, and giving myself away and taking care of another body's needs and stuff like that. And then Evis comes in and goes, what about this relationship? That's why, dudes, we got to bring this on the road, because then all of this is so deep, and it like lifetimes. I feel like I've cleared lifetimes of stuff, as we were talking about earlier. The lifetime before we chose to enter in this incarnation, like, yeah, we're healing mom and dad stuff, but this goes way beyond that. And that's what it feels like for me to really stand in a power, a healthy power that I have never known in my freaking life. And you just, I'm pointing to Evis right now. You just, thank you. I mean, you just really hit, I feel like I've come home into me for the first time in my entire life, and I'm 61 years old.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful.
Wow.
Jeff Fasano, welcome home.
Thank
Beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to be.
you.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
You have waited decades, a lifetime, for this moment to have this emotional and physical reaction in this moment. That little boy inside of you has been waiting for you to show up. He hasn't been waiting for his mom or another woman. Now,
Right.
you think he's been waiting. You've been seeking that outside of yourself, like we all have. But the truth today is that he only needed someone to show up in his life. And that's you, your adult self, that 61-year-old beautiful man that you are.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, that's wow.
Jeff, I have a question for you. See, it's interesting because I felt like me coming home to me was filled with more questions than answers. Does it feel comfortable to you, or do you feel like you're like an unknown is unfolding? Like I know what I'm not. I feel like I've been shedding these heavy things the later part of this year, and what's underneath is uncomfortable because I don't truly know who's there. I don't know what's underneath. I just know what I'm not. And so I feel like letting go of what I'm not has been this beautiful discovery, and then I am just coming out from underneath. And so it didn't feel like home to me. It felt unknown. And I mean, it's a grand adventure, and I'm not putting a negative on it at all. I don't know. Did you coming to you, finding you again, did that feel like home, or are you feeling some of this same thing too, where it's unknown?
To be honest with you, it feels like a whole load, 5,000 million pounds have been taken off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And this relaxation into me to know that I am good enough. I am. I don't have to prove myself to anybody anymore. It's like this whole huge load has been taken off. I've relaxed into me, a place I've never been before in my life. It's always like I got to prove to somebody. I got to prove to mom. I got to prove to this. I got to prove to you who I am. I'm always out proving. And it's like, that's done. It's like everything is done. The unknown part is what's out in the world now. So the inner multidimensional work that we're doing, which is timeless, and we're living timelessly, that's what it feels like. And then in the 3D world, to me, of what I want and what I'm going to do and the plans that I have, or my 2020 vision, so to speak, is unknown. Yeah. But there's a knowing inside of me, but I don't know what I know.
Beautiful. Jeff, I love that, because one of the things I've done in the last 2 weeks is I've published a couple of articles that got picked up by publications, and one was on reflections of the past year, and one was on New Year's resolutions. And even though I wrote an article as an expert on New Year's resolutions, I myself don't write New Year's resolutions anymore. And the reason that I don't is what I've learned in my own healing journey over the last 4.25 years is that when I look back in reflection as to all the things that have unfolded in the last 12 months, almost inevitably, none of them were on a list of any kind. They were all part of the unknown. And what I embrace today is just this, being open to receive the good, the adventures, the sadness, the pain, whatever, the setbacks, the push forwards, the experiences, the pushing through the unknown, and creating these moments of pure humility and honoring myself as I do things I've never done before, never had the courage to do. And so for me, I'm comfortable with not setting resolutions, but setting intentions for today. When I wake up today, what is it that I'm feeling I want to accomplish for myself? That's different than setting a to-do list and doing a checkoffs. I don't even do to-do lists anymore. I don't live in that world. I did for almost 4 decades. And it didn't serve me. Having a plan didn't serve me so well. I like living in the unknown. But what I do know, this is what I do know is my truth, is that embracing the unknown is exciting. Because when I embrace it, I know I'm going to show up and learn, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to expand. But what I also know is that how I show up in these moments is not me living and coming from my mind or my ego space, but truly holding the hand of that little boy inside, JJ, and inviting him to each moment so that I'm not ignoring him as he is part of my experience, but honoring him as I do my adult self, and just holding each other for the ride, not knowing how it's going to turn out. And I don't need to know how it's going to turn out because I spent a lifetime trying to control those outcomes, as I'm sure the three of you have, and it didn't serve me well. It nearly took me out.
Yeah.
So I think it's beautiful to embrace not knowing and to be okay with that, knowing that things are going to change. Things are going to present themselves that will just be more growth opportunities. And through those growth opportunities, we'll come home even further to ourselves. We'll be at peace no matter what. That's what living in inner peace is about. It's that no matter what's going on outside of myself, I'm okay. I'm better than okay. I'm at peace with myself because I show up every day first for me. So that's how it works for me.
Mm.
That was
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Can I just quickly say, guys, and again, I just honor all of your 3 stories. It's just absolute beautiful. And I can see why this platform's just incredible for real men, real talk, to really come together in that inner circle, to be able to discuss things that, man, you go back 10 years ago and there's no way there would have been a platform like this speaking the spiritual smackdown that we're speaking today. But I ask you, Josh, what if the unknown is home?
It is now. Yeah. And Jay, I mean, you just said it. That's the best part of it all, is that, when we hold, I spent a lifetime holding expectations and trying to control outcomes, just as you said, Jay, is that we're guys. I think it's bred into us, but being in television, I'm expected to control every outcome because if anything goes wrong, it's on my shoulders. So my career depended on me controlling outcomes and foreseeing every possible way that it could go south and thwart that possibility. So yeah, massive control. So surrender for me as you're saying, was the hardest thing to come to, but the most peaceful, the most gentle, the most loving, the most amazing. The stillness that I've gotten from living in surrender and trust, those two have been the most amazing gifts I think I've ever been given in my life. And they've come to me this last year, and I've truly trusted. And the universe will bring all of these things, never in the way that we expect them to come to us, but always in the most appropriate, timely, I mean, always in the most beautiful way that we need it in the moment. So just trust, just let go. Who cares? Who cares? It's all happening and unfolding. And so, yeah, you called it perfect. Thank you for bringing that up, because surrender's it. That's home. That's
such a big one I learned this year too, Josh. Surrendering to that process. You know, us as males, we seem to just love to hold on to stuff. You know, we can't let go. We have this false illusion of control. And a lot of the men that I'm helping at the moment on their separation or their transformations. And I went and saw a movie very recently. Have you guys seen Ad Astra with Brad Pitt?
I did see it. Yeah.
Did you like that last scene, brother?
Yeah, it was great.
So that for me was very symbolic of all this. And spoiler alert, please turn away if you want to go and see Ad Astra. But that last scene where he goes into outer space, which I picked up very quickly, Josh, meant your head space, not out there.
Yeah.
So he goes into outer space and he's looking for his father, the cord that he's always had since he was a kid. It nearly represented that umbilical cord, but on the father-son relationship. And he just got to that point where he just had to cut the cord. He had to let go and surrender to his own greatness.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, I think, as men, we need to start being able to let go and surrender to this process, because like you said, in a funny way, Source, God, unified field, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, there's a million names out there for it, always turns up on time.
And knows what's best.
Knows what's best.
Yeah. All we could do is just set some goals, stay in charge of our life by stating our needs, setting our boundaries, staying forward, using our tools and whatever, but really let go of trying to control the outcome so we feel safe and secure when we get there, which what the heck is that? So
where is there, Jeff?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Where is there?
It's like, what are you going to do when you get there? You're going to do the same thing. So it's having some goals. I have goals for this year. But back to the knowingness, if we tap into a knowingness of whatever that is, like Josh, you've peeled a whole bunch of layers from around your heart and around everything. So there's an unknown, but in that unknown, you know something.
I feel safe. Yeah.
In the unknown, and what's in the unknown out there is the known is us. That's where we want to get. We'll open a door. Doorways will open this year. They'll open on the path. We'll look out the door. There's nothing there. But what is there is us. We're the known in the unknown. And that is the whole reason why we do this work, so we can know who we are. And that's our power. That's our safety and security. If we need safety and security, we're our safety and security. So that's why when we get there, all I know, it's in baseball. When a pitcher is struggling, catcher will go out and say, trust your stuff. That's what we're doing. Our stuff is us. It's who we are. That's who we're trusting. And when we stand in that powerfulness and that foundation, the doors will open. And what we're trusting is all the work we've done, all the knowledge and wisdom we gain, all the amazing tools that we have, and then our talents, gifts, and abilities of what we do individually, what our unique talents and abilities are that we're bringing to the world, and that's the known. And then everything else, like I'm showing up, and here I am, and this is who I dig. I love me. And guys, I'm saying this right now, and I didn't know this until right now within me. I mean, I knew it in my mind, and I knew the concepts of it, but for the first time in my life, I'm actually feeling it so strongly. And I'm so glad I'm here. You guys have just opened some stuff within me, and thank you. I mean, thanks, Jay. Guys, it's been great. I mean, it's just, I've learned so much listening to you guys and seeing the mirror. Thank you.
You're welcome. So when we hear that old voice pop back into our thoughts today or tomorrow or the next day, how do we navigate out of that old story, that old tape that has kept us living in what I refer to as that inner bondage, that has blocked us from truly being who we were born to be, which is free of the stories that no longer serve us? How do we turn off the tape? What do we do?
I think the fellas have touched on a couple of those things already there, Jay. And my big thing for me this year was very similar to what Josh was saying, and that was getting back outside in nature. One of those tools to connect with the divine. I mean, she is in order. And no matter what chaos might be going on in that outside world, which, as we know, are the distractions and the illusions, she's perennial. She's ongoing. She recycles herself. She rebirths. She dies. She rebirths. But we need to say to ourselves, do we want to come along for the ride? Do we want to use some of these tools that, some of you great men are talking about? Do we want to listen? Do we want to pay attention? Or do we want to be unconscious to our own life and keep going around on this spinning wheel?
2019 research was just published that the worst year in mass killings in the United States since the 1970s. Now, that may have been only because maybe that's when records was started to be kept. We had the worst year of mass killing in the history of the United States since the 70s, is what the article spoke.
Yeah.
Why is that, and how do we fix that?
It's
self-love. I think to take away, one of the things that is most important, one of the things that I teach in the work it is, and my book Journey of the Awakened Heart is about, is it's moving from the outer to the inner, and really beginning to teach self-love. Teach self-love, and that's what it's all about. Because most, it's if you hate so strongly, you're not hating anybody outside of yourself. It's all in. There's a self-loathing going on, and you were taught that. It's really about just starting to teach self-love, and learning how to do that, and taking responsibility for yourself. But it all comes down to self-love, and it's a one-by-one process. That's how I look at it, is teaching self-love.
Beautiful.
yeah. That was a huge thing for me too, Jeff. That was the first thing I did after I almost committed suicide back in 2016. Was a month of self-love, and it saved my life.
That's it.
It was so foreign to me. We're not taught that, but it's so important.
What my parents taught me, and they were Depression era parents, was to survive. Everything was about surviving, and that was what I was taught. And it's just been the last year or two where I've been working on that consciousness. But we were never taught about self-love, self-honoring, and valuing who we are. And people think, my father did one time many years ago look at me and say, you got to become more selfish. But what he meant was, you got to start thinking about yourself more. Evis pointed that out earlier, moving from the outer to the inner and saying, well, what about me? But not in the narcissistic way where it's all about me. It's about, what about me? Well, Robert Baker, who was my teacher, mentor, healer in New York, we'd be working in a session and I'd be doing some, he's a bioenergetic healer, and I would be doing some physical work and moving the energy, and he would inject, what about me? What about me? And he'd ask you to repeat that. And that was the hardest thing, one of the hardest things for me to do. Because, so it's about saying, what about me? And what do I have to do to get on that path of loving myself more? And self-love for I would imagine most people, and a lot of the people that I come across and in my groups, and don't know what that is.
No.
And don't like, after a session, Robert would say to me, go and do something good for yourself, Jeff, but healthy. As opposed to running off and having a glass of wine or doing this, go do something good for yourself that's healthy, that you're familiar with, but is healthy and it nurtures you. And even the word nurture with guys is like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I think, Jay, the answer to the question is self-love through nurturing and learning what Josh said earlier, what brings me joy. And invariably, it's always the simplest things in life that bring us joy. And if we can put all of that together in some way, that will become a collective, and then start to shift the resonance and vibration from separation, isolation, and duality and hate. That's my take about it.
Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to transition here in this moment and ask all three of you to chime in here. Each one of you, I'd say, have had decades under your belt of being relational in relationships. Knowing what you know today, having had the experiences that you have gone through in your life, what do you think, truly believe today as your truth? What do women really want from a relationship with a real man today? And what is a real man?
How many more hours do you have?
Yeah.
One big thing that I've learned, Jay, it's very simple. It's just to listen.
Yeah.
Just listen. Pay attention. Just listen to the feminine energy. Like you said, in that stillness, in that calmness, create that space, which will create that space for that heart to open and make that connection that Jay always talks about. But one of those key things I start to see with a lot of men, they're not listening.
Yeah, that took a while.
balance. What do you need? What are your needs? Here's my needs. To me, it always comes down to just being authentic and transparent, just being who you are, and a powerfulness of who you are, and nurture. There we go. That word again. The connection equally, and just communicating honestly, authentically your needs. Be transparent, open, and ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
There's no games in all of this. I think what we're all doing, the four of us are demonstrating right now is being. This is where I am right now. This is who I am right now. That's what the four of us are doing right now. And we're doing it. I don't know how many people are listening, but if we could just do it with that one person, I think that's what we want. Just, it's we have to take the third dimensional tangible stuff, things and stuff out of it. Mm-hmm. And then say, what is the relationship that I'm having that now has shifted? It seems for all of us here. Josh, you've totally shifted your relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I've done that big time in the last 2 months. My relationship with myself has totally shifted to a place where I like this. Robert Baker, I've mentioned him a couple of times, would always say to me, so what do you want in a relationship? And he would say, let's look at your life and look at what's going on. And you go, that's what you want. And that's who you want. And if we could come together with that and we're in that same similar place, then it should be pretty easy to open up and communicate. Mm-hmm. And be honest and I channel the energy Archangel Michael, and his thing is, if you stand there and take all 52 cards and lay them face up, that's your beginning.
Mm. Mm. I like that.
Lay all the cards here it is. Mm-hmm. Here I am. And it just seems that the four of us now, I know I've knocked down that armor in the last 2 months. And then being comfortable and knowing that, you know what, I don't need that armor anymore. And I think, I can't speak for women because I'm not one, but if I want that relationship with myself, I want it with you guys. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't a woman want that? Mm-hmm.
What I'm hearing you say, if I may paraphrase you, Mr. Jeff Fasano, is ultimately what I think we're all seeking, men and women, is something that's called healthy intimacy. Mm-hmm. And sex just happens to be part of it under the umbrella of healthy intimacy. But ultimately, healthy intimacy to me today is just about connecting. So I have relationships with women and men where I experience some powerful, healthy intimacy that doesn't involve having sex. And it wasn't always that way for me. And most of my life, it was not at all. It wasn't until I started on my own healing journey. I was the typical modern man in this society. At least my behavior was such that for me it was all about sex. And that was the only way that one of the ways I felt better about myself in that moment. But I lacked having healthy relationships in my life because I didn't know how to show up and have healthy intimacy. And so one of the first things I do when I work with the men that I work with as a coach is that the conversation that we're having tonight is how I coach men. And over progression of time, they're opening up the way you did tonight, Jeff. And there are tears, and it's mutual, and we're connecting. And there is this soul to soul, heart to heart connection that unfolds in such a beautiful way. And even if they're not at the space where they have done the work, the healing work with the number one woman that has been or is still in their life, which is their mom, we have to show up and start practicing how to be relational with men and women. And it doesn't matter what the sex is. What matters is if you're male or female, what matters is that we just show up and start to practice healthy intimacy with men and on men, men with men and men with women. And through that process, I believe that it's part of the coming home to ourselves, because as we practice it and we start to experience safety in the conversations, and we start to learn who is trustworthy, who we can feel safe with to open up and just be who we are and keep that armor laid down, it changes everything. We can hang up from a phone call, a video chat, a dinner, a lunch, and just have this inner feeling of peace that comes with connecting with people. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what we're really talking about here. This conversation tonight has been one of what makes it real is that it's been an intimate conversation. We have all been very honest and sharing some inner things that most men would not feel safe to share in the privacy of a bar, in the privacy of a conversation over a drink with another man. Yet we are here. We are reaching globally. We got people from all over the world tuning in this evening with us. We're coming in. We're touching maybe 130,000 lives through social media, through all of our channels. And we are comfortable having this conversation. And the more we practice showing up this way for ourselves, the more at peace we are and the more comfortable we are to attract healthier women in our lives as well to be relational with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
100%, Joe. 100%.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Everything stems from the relationship that we're having with ourselves.
Yeah. 1000%.
And then setting forth those requirements of what, and this is how we stay in charge of our life. If I having this healthy relationship with myself, that's what I require in my relationships with others.
Yeah.
So we're resonating and vibrating at, a similar level, if not the same level. Mm. And then, we want our mirror. And now that we're all growing and healing exponentially, that's the mirror that we want, because we all get paid to teach.
You bring up a good point, Jeff, and that was going to be what I think I learned most about relationships this year was that they're an amazing mirror for what's going on inside of us, and not always in ways that we're comfortable with. I was just dating a woman before Christmas, and she helped me see something huge in myself because it was what I saw in her. We often love in others what we enjoy about ourselves, and we often struggle with in other people what we struggle with in ourselves. And so this woman that I was dating was so great, but she wasn't living her full potential, and she was believing in that story that she's small, and that was serving her somehow. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, I could see the beauty in this person. Why are you not living? And it was driving me nuts, actually, because I'm like, it's such a beautiful person. just like an amazing soul. And then I went, holy shit, that's me. I'm afraid to live my greatness. I'm living small. And so and I'm still unpackaging all of this and figuring out what to do with it. But here, this woman that I dated for a brief amount of time, we're not dating anymore, taught me this magical lesson about myself, that I'm living small and I could be so much greater if I didn't, there wasn't something serving me staying small, and again, this is me, we're real timing it right now. This has been in the last few days, so I don't know what that means and I don't know where this is going, but the awareness is amazing. And it all starts there. So yeah, the mirror effect is incredible if we're open and if we're able to look at those difficult things and know that, I think excuse me, trusting that we can go through these things and we don't have to run or numb or stuff these emotions, that they can come up, they can come out, and that it's healthy and it's okay. I think that's the first step for people. That's the hardest to cross, is that allowing the process to happen, allowing feelings to come up, allowing them to move through you and not stay stuck. And that stuckness is where a lot of our discomfort and a lot of our pain and shame and a lot of the things that we do in our lives that we're not proud of come from that stuck energy. And so first step is letting it flow as the awarenesses come, feeling it. You can examine it if you have time. There's a lot of power in curiosity. If you don't have time, just remind yourself that you're safe. The brain always thinks that the brain is this really bad judge of severity. It's like your super freak out friend, that always thinks everything's the biggest deal ever, is your brain. So you have to remind yourself that it's okay to feel. You're not being chased by a tiger. Our brains evolved during hundreds of thousands of years when we didn't have technology and internet, and when rejection meant that you would be cast out of the tribe and on the plains and possibly die, because there's protection in the numbers. So honor that our brains are thinking this way. Honor that rejection feels like death, and we can talk ourselves through it, and it's okay to feel, and it's okay to feel rejection or alone, and that we're not going to die like our brain thinks we are. So yeah, I went off on a rant, but
I love that, Josh. I love that.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I don't have any words. You just that was man. That was great.
What I'm picking up there, guys, too. I love hearing this word balance. As we come to the end of this broadcast, I guess, Jay, and we're talking about this feminine, this masculine energy, which resides in each and every one of us. Finding that balance of the divine feminine that is currently on this planet right now, that has been ushered in for quite a while. Some might know it as the age of Aquarius. But also becoming aware that, like you're just saying there, Josh, everything that is on the outside there is a mirror. It is a reflection. So if you have some of these circumstances, these troubles, these events, these traumas that come up in your life, take a look within and ask yourself, what is it about me that has drawn this particular event, person, place, or time into my reality? Because now we have that ability to be able to overcome that and move forward on our soul's journey. And I hate going back on a tangent too here, Josh, but I just saw the Star Wars film, and I said this on a video the other day I did. Who saw the Star Wars film out there, guys?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I better not say that. Anyway, one scene, close your ears, Josh. But that last scene, I gotta do it. That last scene, you see Rey, played by the feminine energy. you see Ben, played by the masculine energy, both kneeling down at the emperor above them. What I picked up straight away, and yeah, I'm that dude in the movies writing down notes, don't worry. But what I picked up straight away, and the emperor said this to them both, he says, look at you. He said, kill me, kill me. That is so beautiful. That is the life energy there. But they just sat there and they just surrendered and they accepted that they didn't have to go through this pain, this fear to marry that divine feminine and masculine energy to give the balance to the force. And step into your own. And in the tarot deck, I don't know if you know the tarot deck, but they call it the Empress or the Emperor energy. So that's stepping into your own divine. And that's how I saw that last scene in Star Wars. Sorry, Josh.
No sorries needed. That's beautiful.
As we are now day 2 in 2020, I'd like to invite each one of you to maybe share projecting into this year what you would like to see, not only in your life, but in the lives of other men that you touch and that you have touched and that you will touch. Well, what do you wish for 2020 to look like this time next year?
I'll just finish on that last part if you want, guys, because what I was saying there is truly what I would love to see men do. And it's funny because, you know, this time of the year for a lot of online coaches like us, you start to see a lot of people get excited naturally by the welcoming of the new year. But funnily enough, the people or the most that have been coming to me are women.
Yeah.
And I ask you, men, I ask you to unleash your greatness. Find the love within and allow for the process of this beautiful, beautiful journey that we call self-discovery. So that's my little take on it, Jay.
Thank you for sharing that. Evis Heath coming in from Australia. Across the pond. Jeff Fasano. What are you thinking right now?
When you ask that question, Jay, the first what pops into my head is for more acceptance and compassion. Being more assertive with our acceptance and compassion in life. First for ourselves, and then for everyone outside of ourselves. That's what popped when you asked that question. That's what came to me right away, is to really assert more, especially as men, to do that, because we're naturally assertive, borderlining on unhealthy aggressive, to get what we want. To turn that into having our goals, seeing what we want, seeing what we want things to be for ourselves in the world, but bringing and having that energy, and then, as Evis said, marrying the feminine in that, but all the while staying assertive with both. I think this world needs more assertion with acceptance and compassion, and really start asserting that out into the world, which is an aspect of the feminine energy, and using our masculine energy of assertiveness to bring that out into the world, and that's marrying both energies, and being more tolerant, more seeing, letting go of looking outside of ourselves for the answers, looking at others to take care of ourselves, bringing like a more bring equality, like and that's about gathering our power and love of ourselves, that I'm unique, I'm not different. There's nobody like me, there's nobody like Evis, there's nobody like Jay, and nobody like Josh, but also seeing that we're all equal in it. So owning our uniqueness, and that we are all ingredients in the world. We have everyone here has something inside of them to give to someone else and the world. So we have these amazing ingredients that could, and if we start seeing ourselves as being an ingredient to everything, through compassion and acceptance and asserting that, we can shift and change and create a whole new collective consciousness, which is what we're doing here.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jeff. Josh, Rick.
For me, I did a meditation led by a friend of mine at a place called Unplug here on the West Side on New Year's Eve for an hour and a half. And she said, I am, and then fill in the blank. And the first word that came to my mind that night when we were in peace and in stillness was, I am love. And it sort of fits with what I've been feeling the last few days, in a sense that as this decade closes, this last decade was so much about me. Building a business, the business crash, all the trauma, the drinking, the rehab. There was so much healing that had happened that I don't feel like I want this next decade to be about me at all. I'm tired of me, in a sense of all of the work and everything. I feel like my cup is full. I found myself. I feel I'm doing things daily to fill myself with love. And so I'm good. And I want to now be love for other people and let my cup overflow for others. And so I've been kicking this around the last 24 hours that just going out and being of service and being with people, for people, when they're hurting, when they're in pain, in those places that I know well. But now from a place of being calm and being centered and being me and being okay. And just loving them or holding space for them or whatever they need in the moment, is just holding that for them. And I'm okay. I'm good. I think I've done enough, and I'm happy. So I don't know. My thoughts.
Love that.
Less opposition.
Yeah.
Cooperation, not competition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Less opposing, reacting, accepting, and responding.
Yes.
Opposing and reacting is a cocktail that energetically just begins more duality and separation.
And less judging.
Yes.
Yeah.
More discernment.
Yep.
That includes ourselves.
100%.
Yep.
That's where it begins. I'd like to take some time to answer my own question, and I propose to all three of you, and I want to thank you and honor you for sharing your perspective and showing up tonight. And I could keep this show going for another hour, and I'd be okay with it, because I love where we have navigated this relationship this evening. It's just been so beautiful. And it just hits me right here. It truly hits me in my heart space. What 2020 means to me coming out of this conversation is even more affirming. And for me, it's as men, as a society and societies across the world, not just in the United States, because we've got Evis Heath representing the other side of the pond coming in from Australia this evening, is that what we globally are lacking as men, generally speaking, is we're unconsciously living. We're not awakened. We inherited a belief system that wasn't ours. It was given to us. It was a gift, a painful gift, but a gift. And part of what I learned how to do for myself is to honor the gift, the belief system that was gifted to me by my parents and my teachers throughout my life, by giving it back. By, in a ceremonial fashion, giving it back to them, because it no longer serves me. Because the belief system that I lived in fact, it never was mine. I just didn't know that because I was sleeping.
Yeah.
I was living it unawakened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hurtful. It caused me a lot of harm, caused my relationships a lot of pain. And if there's one takeaway for 2020, my wish for men all over across the globe is that we begin to awaken, to become the men that we were born to be. And that is free. Freedom from the belief systems that no longer serve us, that have hurt us, that have hurt our relationships, that have hurt the most important relationship, which is the one with ourselves, have damaged us in many profound ways. And for all of us to just begin to release it, give it back with honor and respect, but no longer feeling the need to run the ship using the old controls, the old shipmates that no longer serve us. But to honor them and respect them by opening up our hearts, opening up our minds to new thoughts, new ideas, to self-discovery, so that we, in fact, can experience what Jeff experienced in this moment this evening, which is the physical and emotional experience of truly coming home to yourself. Because when we come home to ourselves, we will find a loving home, unconditional love and respect and honor, nurturing, nourishing, protecting. That little boy that we all have within us. Through that experience, we can be change makers. One man at a time. It starts right here, right now, with the of us. That's my wish. My wish is to see every man that I touch express himself with all of his emotions open. Let the tears flow. Because when we let the tears flow, what we're truly doing is we're thawing out our soul. The tears are just the thawing process of coming home.
Beautiful.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you,
Jay.
What an amazing way to close all of this.
Really.
You guys are awesome.
I'm speechless.
Wow.
Just beautiful, fellas. Thank you from across the pond.
Yes.
Same. Back at you.
Yeah. This is great. You know, could I just say one thing? What's really cool is that Jay, you asked us to come on to share, and I hope to help people, help everybody out there. But I'm telling you, this was a great therapy session for me.
I told you that, Jay. Your platform is a healing session.
I mean, just by sharing and listening, I just felt we were in a room together, and I have learned so much tonight.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. It was great.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you guys.
You know, I just I love what we do today. I love how we all are showing up in our lives, touching each other in this capacity. It's a beautiful way to live. It's a new way to live. 4 years ago, I wouldn't be right here because this is not who I was. I knew who I had become. I didn't know who I was. And coming home is, in fact, about reconnecting with ourselves, learning who we are, self-discovery, and learning how to like ourselves and eventually falling in love with ourselves so that we then can show up for others in a conversation like we had tonight. And so I'm excited for this year to unfold as we all navigate through the highs and lows, the lessons, the teachers that will show up just on time.
Yeah.
Even when we say, why now? I didn't need this right now. Well, it's not when we need it. It's not when we think we need it or when we think we'll be ready for it.
No.
It shows up just on time. And with that, I would like to, again, thank each one of you for being in my life today, for teaching me how to experience healthy intimacy and continue to on this journey of coming home to ourselves. And with that, please stay in the studio just for a few extra moments. Any other parting thoughts, comments, or else we're gonna call it a wrap.
Thank you.
Sending love and gratitude.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you.
I have a feeling we're going to be back this year, whether we're back together or individually or a combination of both, as my angel Mary has taught me in this lifetime today, is that I don't have to decide one or the other. I could say, let's do both.
I love it.
And one more thing that the four of us, when each of us shared, and this is for guys listening and guys out there, if you listened to all of us, what I realized is that you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. That's one of the biggest things that guys have is like, I've got to do this alone. I can't talk to somebody. I can't do this. We just each shared and opened our hearts, and it's similar. And I realized when I go into my stuff, I'm not alone. There's somebody else that's going through the same stuff. So if I had a message to guys out there, it's like, you're not alone. Four guys just opened our hearts to you. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of us is available.
Yeah.
You can feel free to reach out.
Definitely.
Private message through Messenger. You got our names. You know who we are. And we're here. We're waiting. We're waiting for you to want it for you more than we want it for you.
Exactly.
And with that, thank you, gentlemen. welcome to 2020.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, brothers.
Thank you for joining us.
Guys.
Man, Real Talk Raw. We'll catch you next time. Love each one of you. Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.